An interesting piece of news yesterday. We got a new food pyramid. Who saw it coming? Not me. Do you remember the old food pyramid we had for so long? And I was never a super big proponent of that because it pushed a lot of processed carbs. Remember, that was the whole base of the pyramid. We're going to look at that, reflect on that, and then it was somewhere around 2020. Official recommendations moved us on from a food pyramid to my plate. Did you dial in on my plate? Do you remember that? We'll take a look at that too. And then yesterday, joint statement from USDA and HHS giving us a new pyramid, but it's flipped. We've got an upside down pyramid. And so we're going to take some time today, dive into these new recommendations. What do we think of them? I will give you some reflections on them. Love to hear your thoughts and perspectives, questions as we go along. Throw them in the chat. We will have a discussion about it. And then I will take this dietary framework, which is being given, and I will give you my framework on healthy food choices and a fasting practice that can help to take any dietary framework, whatever your perspective, can be very diverse. We filter that through a gentle, thoughtful, yet powerful fasting practice, and we can supercharge any sort of dietary framework into a weight loss process that can really power our body and life. So that is where we're going today. So to start us out, I'm going to jump us over to a new site, realfood.gov. Real food starts here, okay? I'm not going to pick it apart. I say, real food starts on the farm. Real food starts in our backyard, in the garden, of course. So, but we won't be too picky. Okay, now before I dive into this stuff in detail, I just want to say, look at that little flag at the top, an official website of the United States government. United States government has an administration in it right now that some people love and some people do not love, okay? Very divisive. And there's so much polarization about everything in society these days, and even about health. And so in this space, what I want to do to start us out is let's just set aside everything that has to do with any kind of partisanship or division. I'm a doctor. I care about people's health. What I'll tell you, the human body does not care what you think about some economic policy or some agricultural policy or something. Cells in the body running. They need energy. Every human being, we're all the same fundamentally. We need the same things. Good nutrition and some open space, that's fasting and movement, and good sleep and sunshine, fresh air and water. So I believe, honestly, health should be a unifying force. Let's just move toward that. Let's move toward being healthy, and let's get some good perspective here on what do we think of this. So they say better health begins on your plate, not in your medicine cabinet. I really like that statement. That is a place to start. I agree. You might need some medicine, right? Not opposed to medicine, but trying to need as little medicine as possible starts on the plate. Absolutely. I'll tell you, it starts on the plate and it starts with no plate, because every diet can tell you what to eat, but it doesn't tell you when to stop. That's where we're going to go. We also have to put all these things into balance. Can't be eating all the time either, even if it's healthy food. The new dietary guidelines defines real food as whole, nutrient-dense, and naturally occurring. I always say comes from the earth in a natural way. So I like that language, yes. That should be at the center of the diet. I agree. It really should. America is sick. The data is clear. Yeah, I agree with this. 50% of Americans have prediabetes or diabetes. That's their stat here. Yeah, look, I'm going to jump us over to cdc.gov. Here's their stats. Prediabetes, 1 in 3 adults have prediabetes. That's going to 50% by age 65. And then you add the diabetes on top of it. By age 65, it's nearly 80% diabetes or prediabetes. And so that checks out. This is the reality of the metabolic situation that we have. We definitely should move toward it. 75% of adults with one chronic medical condition at least. Yeah, this is the thing. So when you start out with so much diabetes, you add everything else, it's a big issue. And then this stat, they have 90% of U.S. healthcare spending goes to treating chronic disease, much of which is linked to diet and lifestyle. Yeah, I haven't been able to verify exactly this 90% number. The number that is in my mind is that 90% of healthcare spending occurs in the last year of life. At least Medicare spending. I've seen that stat because we spend so much money at end of life and ICU care, and of course we need to think deeply about that. But whatever the number is, maybe 90% of total health is right. It's where the priority is, and it's what people have defined healthcare to be. Healthcare is like people getting sick, and then we have medicine to help it. And the big perspective that I want to share and help move toward in the whole discussion around simple fasting process is that there are powerful processes that we can have that confront this. Say, if we don't get diabetes in the first place, and we don't need expensive fancy, complicated new drugs. Just the whole thing is off the table. That's the best medicine to me. And so anything that can take us in that direction, I am broadly supportive of. Here's the old pyramid. They brought that in for decades, been misled by guidance that prioritized highly processed food, and now we are facing this unprecedented state of chronic disease. I agree. So food pyramid did not help people. And even though we moved on from pyramid officially, like the ethos of it certainly stayed, this foundation of all of the processed grains is like really pushed. And then the pinnacle of the pyramid just pushing like that it's okay to have a lot of sweets and things, or at least some every day. You might have some. Okay, we got away from this a bit. Let's just get the perspective. For 2020 until 2 days ago, we had My Plate. Here's that. Which they're saying even here, what happened to the pyramid? So we had moved on from pyramid. Look at this, putting grains more in its place. Dairy's kind of floating off the plate somewhere, emphasizing fruits, vegetables. This was definitely an improvement. It was. But if we scroll down here, we look at grains. Make half your grains whole grains, and then half your grains have, the processed stuff. I'll just tell you, it's we want to minimize that for sure. But this was a step in the right direction, so it's not like we were still operating off of 1992 here. But we're really moving beyond it now. They say, oh, we can solve this crisis. Well, I hope so. Let's all work to do it. We just do it for ourselves first. That's what we want. That's what we're trying to do here. Take care of ourselves. They say, for the first time, we're calling out the dangers of processed foods. Well, maybe for the first time you're doing it. Thousands of thoughtful people, medical providers and nutritionists for decades have been saying we shouldn't do this. So now someone, within the government system at least, talking about it. So I think that's positive. We could certainly use science and common sense. Here they're introducing the new pyramid. Protein, dairy, healthy fats. This is like this big chunk of the pyramid. This pyramid going out, broadly to everybody, I will say I'm not a believer that there is a one size fits all dietary framework for every person. Some things that I want to talk about in our context, and we can get into it in detail, but just as we're looking for this, um, there's a big emphasis on dairy in this. I will tell you, dairy, a big weight gainer. You think about the purpose of it, right? Milk about making the baby bigger. We're communicating growth hormones and everything that we need for growth and development. A very good framework for kids, I will tell you. I think dairy especially good for growing kids. If you are someone who is trying to lose weight, I just wave a little caution flag on it. Dairy's about helping people gain weight. When we're talking about kids, I see kids coming out of high school, drinking a soda, eating chips, boxes of candy, and I just think, oh my gosh, it'd be so much better. Have a cheese stick or something, it'd be fine. It helps so many people. But I'd just say, yeah, dairy, some hormonal things going on. If you're trying to lose weight, let's just stick a pin in that, and we'll talk. We can talk more about that. But so many good things here. I see a lot of people shift from a lot of processed carbs over to some meat, eggs, plant-based sources, avocados, olive oil. We got legumes, nuts, seeds. Yeah. And then look at the other side of this pyramid, all the fruits and veggies. It's a pretty nice image. I mean, they've made it look nice. We've prioritized the veggies over the fruits on the pyramid, which I support. I call fruit nature's candy. Here's the real jewels, the berries, tons of nutrients and fiber. I'm broadly supportive of that. And then here we've got whole grains forming like the base of the pyramid, the pinnacle of the pyramid down at the bottom, and we talk about that. When you think about that old pyramid and the base of it, one of the things that I think about a lot is, carbohydrate sources, corn, potatoes, wheat, rice. These have been like staple products that have served agricultural civilization, the transition out of hunter-gatherers. And we had a lot of staple civilization that was founded, like that pyramid. You can see where some of the thinking came from. And you say, why is that? And we could, that's probably a discussion for a whole nother time. I'll just say, because so many of, it's just a modern phenomenon. Why is it the modern phenomenon that we are struggling with this? The carbs that we are specifically talking about, carbs not bad. Look at all the carbs on here, the fruits, the veggies, the nuts, there's carbs, and the grains. It's not like you have to eliminate all of these things. The grains specifically is not what they used to be. An indigenous person in Mexico who is milling their own corn and making their own homemade tamales is a lot different than the mass-produced stuff that we have been consuming in our society. That's the real thing. We have taken everything out of its natural context. Okay, we're going to dive in. They do some focusing on these recommendations when we dive in here. They say 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram per body weight per day of a protein source. I've read different articles already yesterday. Different people, have their perspectives. They say, oh, it's too much protein, and we're going to be driving people to consume too much red meat, and is that bad? Listen, we have a whole perspective on this channel. I've talked about the incredible range of the spectrums of diets that people have. Someone on the very far side, a carnivore diet, eating only meat to huge amounts, much more than these recommendations. I've seen actually the human body flourish on something like that. You look at something the more moderate, a Mediterranean diet, all the way over into totally plant-based eating. All of these dietary frameworks that I'm describing strip out the highly processed products, which is what this framework is trying to do. So it's fascinating to me that the human body can thrive on a wide range. What the ideal protein source is a point of discussion and probably different for different people at different seasons of life with different goals. Certainly different goal for a bodybuilder than someone who is not in that sort of mindset. All of us need a certain amount of protein, though, to maintain our muscle mass. And so I'm generally supportive. I find that people do quite well as they are getting solid, healthy protein intake from whatever source it is. Switching over here, veggies, 3 servings a day, fruits, 2 servings a day. I generally like that. I like the prioritizing veggies over fruits. When we get to the fasting part, I filter this through the fasting perspective. Say, well, if you're trying to lose weight, you don't necessarily need all of these servings, and especially I say that about the grains, especially any sort of processed grain, 2 to 4 servings per day. That's kind of interesting. That seems a lot bigger to me than the tiny bottom of this pyramid that we're getting to. 2 to 4 servings of things like this, if you're on a weight loss path, you know, it may be too much, I will tell you. How about 0 to 1? If I were to make this pinnacle of this new pyramid really aggressively on the dietary focus, more weight loss focus, I say, why don't we make that 0 to 1 and focus on the rest of this, which is so good. This is where you are going to have the most bang for your buck. There's a beautiful squash. We did the squash talk the other day. Perfect. But this is a nice visual. I really like it. They're very thoughtful putting this together. Eat real food, this sort of stuff. Look on this pyramid. Nowhere on here is sweets and sugar. So just get that completely out. See, I really love the ethos of that for sure. Okay, so we've got this sort of idea. Whatever you think of it, this pyramid, there's some very good concepts that we can take here and use, which is get all the processed food out. Whether you like this framework that has more dairy, which I throw a little question on, whether you're someone who says, I don't want so much red meat or meat products in general, okay, you can focus this, more meat heavy or more plant heavy is all good. That's a philosophical perspective as much as anything. Human body can thrive on unprocessed foods. Remember, this is one of our dials. We got a healthy eating dial. Something like this, I think, is going to move the discussion forward in this country on making healthier food choices. And I really do like that. But then that is just one component of the health process. And the part that I want to move our discussion toward, and that I think would be so good if we could move the discussion toward it in our society, is okay, we've got ideas of healthy eating and these food choices. Then what is the framework that we put it into? Because even if it's healthy foods, we're eating all healthy foods all the time, or a large part of the time, it can still be a lot of calories. It can still be difficult to lose weight and get healthier if we don't ever take a break from it. And so I want to show you my framework for how I would take something like this and then put it into a fasting-based framework that can really help. So here I've taken us over simplefasting.com. I have this article. I get a link to it in the description, 3-step weight loss plan. I've had this article up here since like 2018, I think. We've got energy storage in the body. How does the body want to burn it? I really like this little switch. We've got food. Here's some healthy food. Our pineapple over there. We flip over, we eat it. Okay, we just turned on our food burning system. This is happening if it's healthy food or an unhealthy food. Anything we eat, we flip it over. And that happens pretty instantaneously. And then we have to burn through that energy. The energy is processing it, and we will slowly flip over to our storage. We say we want to run down the storage system. All right? Takes at least 12 hours to do that on average. depending on what the macros, are, what is the hormonal state of the body. Takes a while to get there, but instantly flip back is one of the most helpful things to realize about how the body works. We don't just instantly go over here. We don't go on a diet. Body doesn't know we're on a diet. Body says we're saving this energy over here for times when we don't have food. And as long as we have food, we shut off access to this energy storage. Hormones are doing that, especially insulin. When we're eating anything, insulin is produced, especially carbohydrates are driving insulin and blocking access to the storage. This is what I agree with about this pyramid, is we're cutting out everything as much as possible. Well, we're moving in the direction. Things that are spiking up the insulin, blocking access to the storage, that's part of it. And then the part of it that really supercharges it is, hey, we need some space to clear this out so that we can actually flip over and start, drawing some current out of this battery, getting the energy flowing out instead of in. This is what we want. So step 2, adopt a routine that activates this fasting metabolism. Now we're trying to do multiple things at the same time. We're getting the healthiest food choices, but we're putting them into windows where we can open up some space. So here I just show different practices. Level 1, 2 meals a day in a 6 to 8 hour window. This is showing 6-hour windows. Some people open up a fasting space in the morning. Maybe we're doing it right now. Grab a coffee and just float on toward lunch and then a dinner. Or maybe you don't want to make it all the way to lunch. You can go this one. Have a brunch. If you made it an earlier dinner, okay, that would keep the window 6 hours. If maybe you like the hybrid 10 and 6 and kind of merge those two. It's the most common way to do it. Other people say, hey, I want to get up. I want to eat breakfast. I want to have a lunch. Clear out some late eating. Some people really like that. Most people say dinner's the most social meal, so I want to kind of stick in that habit so I can connect with people over dinner. But if that's not you, then no big deal. Like any of these patterns, anything like this sets up this cycle, and this is what I want to show you. This is what is so unique about a fasting physiology. 6-hour eating window and then 12 hours to flip that switch, like we had there, is going to open up a 6-hour window in each day where you can run off that storage. Actually, get over here into this battery zone, We ate dinner at night. Then we slept. And we were burning through that. And right in the morning, we got to this point, and the body is saying, man, if we don't eat something soon, going to have to be really drawing down this storage. Now, most of the time we get up and we eat again. If you eat at least every 12 hours, you don't get over here and spend any time. But now we said, hey, I'm going to fast in the morning. And we got to this point, and the body says, okay, nothing here. Hormonal structure of the body has reset. Let's dive in this space. Then the calorie deficit that we've created, or we are creating, can come out of this storage. When we eat little bits all the time, we're doing this. Do you see this? And we keep having little bits, and it keeps flipping the switch, and that's always sending the message to the body, still not time to burn the body fat. Then we can set up this really perverse physiology in the body where not very much food is coming in, but we're never fasting, so the hormones not really lining up, telling the body we should be burning the food. And then the body will adapt to that situation. This is how we get trapped. I call metabolic trap, where we're not really eating much, but our weight kind of plateaus, and then our energy level goes down. We feel low energy, and then it is ultra frustrating because we're not getting the results we want. Most people who go on a standard dietary process have some initial success, plateau, and then regain because the metabolism slows down. Fasting giving us the chance to break out of that. Here's what it looks like, step 3 on this article. Fill the meals with healthy, unprocessed food. A lot of this is in line with these new, pyramid sort of things. I've designed some meals in here, but this is knock out the extra grains. I got no grains in these recommendations. And, you can titrate or adjust in the amount of it that you want. Just look at this picture. We got a salmon with an asparagus medley. Okay. Now, a lot of people would just load up a big section, of rice or something in there. And I say, just have more asparagus, stick with the veggies, going to keep the carbs low, going to keep the insulin in such a better place. It's going to make it easier for that switch to flip over. So these are the types of meals that I would build, and I'm building it primarily out of this top part of this pyramid. That's definitely where you want to focus. And depending on how tightly you want to dial in the food part of it is really how much of the grains that you would choose. And when you're choosing the grains, you try to make them the very most unprocessed that you can. Steel cut oats over the instant oats. Going to give you a much lower glycemic index, going to be a less insulin response, is going to help. But everything like that, right, it takes more work. We have instant oatmeal because we are in an instant, culture. We want everything now. Food has been kind of the afterthought. We just have to get through it as fast as possible so we can get on to the things that really matter. That's kind of been the thought process. When what we have to move toward, which I would totally say we have to do it. Food is like the foundation of health. It is the total priority. We have to make it a huge, huge focus. You really want to be healthy. You want to build the body out of the strongest, healthiest components. And I really believe that. And then you want to lose weight. You say, well, I want less. Like you say, look, like here we have extra body fat. It's me. It's a part of me. Well, now I want that to be nothing. It's gone. So instead of replacing that with more food, say replace it with nothing. That's what fasting is. You just think about it. If we're building the body out of energy and all this stuff that we eat, yes, we want to be strong. We need the protein for our muscles so we can, do everything that we need to do in our life. But you want to lose some weight. How about replacing it with nothing? That's what body fat is there for. That's what the energy is for. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the comment. It says, thank you for explaining the pyramid. It is really hard to start fasting while consuming more carbs than protein and dealing with constant glucose spikes and cravings. That is exactly the case, and thank you for sharing that. That's been my experience, the experience of so many people that I have worked with. And this is really a great observation of like, how do you get into something like this? You say, okay, I like the idea of fasting for weight loss, but if you are eating on a framework that is very carb heavy, and especially you've had lots of simple carbs coming in on it, the body gets dependent on that and used to it. And when we deviate from that, then we experience what you're describing, because the system is really out of balance. The system is not optimally running on a lot of simple carbs all the time. And when we get into a routine of it, and then we deviate from it, and the insulin has been high, then we can get the blood sugar crashing then. And then you feel that way and you're like, oh, I need to eat. And then it keeps that cycle, drives the hunger. A big perspective that I want to share with people on fasting. We have had a perspective in this country on fasting that has been part, I think, of the whole perspective of the old pyramid, and so much money has influenced, nutrition, counseling, and research. Selling products that hunger has to be avoided, and you need to consume these products, and all the money flowing through this system, that hunger is bad, okay? And so therefore, fasting has not been part of the dialogue in this country. When we really take a step back, we say we need to untangle this whole situation. The human body should, and is capable in its optimal state of flowing through a fasting space without food, without any kind of suffering or struggle. Paradoxically, a fasting space is the process of diminishing hunger over time, but you move toward it. See, there's a barrier to entry. See, we have not trained the body to do it. And when you're in this cycle with high carbohydrate eating, processed food products, to open up a fasting space like that, very difficult, like you're saying, absolutely. So a place to start might be, say, maybe the way to start fasting is not even to start fasting, okay? Maybe it's to dial in on real food. Get the processed food out so the body can start operating on a lower glycemic index. So you're getting more healthy fats in with more stable energy source. What if you took a couple weeks like that to start out into it? Blood sugar is stabilizing, hormone levels in the body, especially insulin, normalizing. And from a foundation like that, it is easier, absolutely, to start opening up some fasting space. This is what I tell you, everything that is good for the human body is synergistic, okay? You start adding in some healthier eating makes it easier to practice fasting. You start tolerating a fasting space better, makes it easier to exercise without our blood sugar crashing and our energy higher. This is what is amazing. People say, oh, in a fasting space, I must be weak. I'd be so hungry. No, as you strengthen the body, you reduce the dependence of the body on a constant sugar flow. You don't have to be sucking down Gatorades every, 10 minutes in order to just keep enough energy to be walking around, because you're training the body. There's energy within their body. Incredible energy reserves are present in the body. Fasting is a training process, training the body. Hey, you're not so dependent on constant consumption. You have access to this energy, but we have to practice it. And so as you practice it, the body gets stronger and more resilient at doing it. Now your exercise capacity increases. Okay? And as your exercise capacity increases, helps you to do more of it, well, then you sleep better, right? Do you see how all this thing is sleep, such a foundational thing to our health? All of a sudden we start sleeping better and our energy's better, and then it helps us to make better food choices. And all of these things exist symbiotically with our mental health, our emotional health. Is like the most important thing. So you say we're trying to feel better at the root level. You say, what is health? But like a state of contentment, vibrancy, flourishing. Okay, this is what we want, is total wellness. And so all these things flow together with a goal of total health and wellness. I say we need all of it. We need the healthy food choices, maybe new pyramid ideas, communicating concepts that can help with that. Take whatever dietary framework you want out of that, where you are, filter it through a fasting space so that we have times where the digestive system can run, and then also times where it can rest and relax and reset that hormonal structure. See, that's like a component of it. To me, I put fasting as like the base layer of health. It's like we're just starting at this root level. We've got the human body, and we just appreciate human body has immense energy resources, is capable, designed to be able to function in a fasting space and be productive and happy and thoughtful, okay? And then from that base, then we add to it. That's the way I see it. We add the healthy food to it that gives the nutrients to the body and replenishes the system. And then we add the exercise and all the mental health practices that help us dial in. The breathing, the journaling, the meditation. So just building community and connection, the things that really bring joy, meaning, and value to life. Like this is how you build a process. They say this is going to total wellness. That's what I want. So I like this framework. I like that it's having a discussion. I saw so many news articles yesterday. Even, things that are critical, say, oh, new food pyramid, too much meat or too much dairy or too much things. But it's like, it's sparking a conversation, and I think that's good. And then I say, let's keep the conversation going, in societally. And it's like, it's giving an opportunity for people to talk. And with all the division and all the, political difficulty, like, how about turning a conversation to healthy food and healthy eating And like whatever you believe across any political spectrum, can we all just focus on good, natural, healthy food? Can we at least agree on that? Because I think we could be able to. Like some hard left person, hard right person, like everybody needs healthy food. Everybody ideally would be able to maintain their weight in a place that they feel good about. And everybody, this is what I want as a primary care provider, weight loss consultant, diabetes consultant. I just want everybody flourishing, metabolic health. I personally think when everybody's feeling better, when everybody is like, man, we're needing less medication, our blood sugar and blood pressure and cholesterol and all this stuff, it's all better because we're taking better care of ourselves. That is such a thoughtful perspective, right? And then when we can see everybody's the same, everybody needs all the same things, like, does that lead us in a mindset where we can be more kind and compassionate to other people? Is this actually a root level of healing? I mean, it is. To me, food is medicine. Is like, it's not all of medicine. Some pills are medicine too, okay? But food is medicine. It's like a root level medicine that is setting the foundation of health. And I think healing in a space is just so much bigger than we have given it. We want healing for our body, right? Our healing for ourselves. We want to feel energy and life and vitality and flourishing. As we are doing that, though, say, actually, I feel like health and healing has come to me, right? That's a joyful thing. Like, that's something like, yeah, we want to share that, okay? And people want to hear about things like that, and that can build connection. We start building connections around health, healing, wholeness, especially things like that don't cost money. That's what I love about fasting. Healthy food, there's an investment, right? It does cost money. And this is something that we need a huge, big societal discussion. We have huge subsidies that subsidize the creation of food that is unhealthy, okay? So we should stop that. We should subsidize ways to help every farmer, produce things that just bringing nourishment to people the most that we really need to be able so that people can make all the choices off this pyramid in the most economical way. Okay, but as we have discussions like that, as we're building things like that, and then I say we bring in the fasting part of it that is like totally free. That's what balances it out. If you are in a mindset, I have to eat off this special food, pyramid. It's like, okay, I'm not buying the cheaper cereal all the time. I'm investing in some of these things that are more, okay? The fasting process can help you balance that out. Because instead of having to do 3 meals plus 2 snacks, you say 5 total eating times in a day, where I'm having to buy like ultra high quality stuff, you say, well, the bill's going to add up on that. Okay, but listen, we can take the pressure off if you're trying to lose weight, especially. Say, take the pressure off, okay, the logistics of having to organize all that, huge shopping trips and making sure we have the things. Okay, we can just put that into a smaller space. How about 2 meals? How about we don't need snacks? Part of the whole process, food pyramids, and you have to eat 6 times a day, 6 small meals, never stop the consumption, always energy. Well, it's like we got to be making healthy choices all the time. Okay, fasting process, simplify this whole thing so much. It's like only twice in a day. This would be a way to start. Do I have to make any food choices at all? Everything else just open space. Gonna stay hydrated, get on with my day, do my work, do whatever it is I want to be doing. Don't even have to think about it. Do you find that this is true most of the time? The struggle of making healthy choices is when it's like top of mind, when we're focused on it. And when we have patterns of eating all the time, like it can be overwhelming. It's like I always have to be making the decisions. We get decision fatigue. So it's like, let's pull that way back. You only have to make 2 decisions in a day. If you're eating a brunch or lunch and a dinner, whoa, all of a sudden it's like, I got to make this decision and I've got to make that decision. And then we get in a pattern of it. And most of what our hunger is about patterns because the body's trying to figure out when it's got to turn on the digestive system. And that it takes 20, 30 minutes for the body to do that. So it's trying to predict. And I said, and if we're eating all the time, the body's like, we might be doing this all the time, then we can be hungry all the time. You see, we're solving many problems at the same time by taking any dietary framework and putting it into a beautiful, simple fasting process, taking the complexity out. And then one of those things is just to say, the money that we save from not having to buy all the snacks and extra meals, invest that in the highest quality food so that when we're eating, it's really good and we enjoy it. And because we're doing the hard work of clearing out that other space, which hopefully isn't too hard, we just float through it. That's the goal. We've already done that work. That's why I say let fasting do the work. Fasting doing the work, really what that just means, the body's always working. It never stops. Blood's always flowing. Hamster wheel's always running around, keeping the brain operating, heart is beating. All that takes energy. And we open up a fasting space, now there's not food coming in, okay? Body using energy that whole time. And when we've opened up that fasting space, now that insulin isn't blocking the cells anymore. That's why I say fasting's like the key that opens the door to the cell. Insulin is like what's locking those cells up. So as we open up that fasting space, door is opened up to the cell. Now the energy can come out. As we practice that, it gets easier so we can just flow through that space. Flow state, have you experienced that? So that's what you want. That's when you're just flowing through a space. You're not like counting the seconds, feeling anxiety about anything. Fasting flow state, that's what we want. And then when we get to a meal, now we are experiencing, joy of eating healthy, nutritious food that tastes good and feels good. And because it is not loaded with processed carbs, we're not spiking our sugar and then, crashing and having all this fluctuating hormones that are leaving us dragging in the afternoon and I can't think and I'm tired. And then we go through this cycle. Then it kicks up that craving and we want something else to say, take a deep breath and we get out of that whole framework. We just had a beautiful lunch, healthy, nutritious food. We feel so satisfied. Then we float through our afternoon and we get to do it again. And we have another beautiful meal. And then we head off to bed and we sleep and wake up, maybe have a coffee, which I call contentment in a cup, right? If you don't like coffee, have a tea or just water. You can call water contentment in a cup. It's bringing a mindset to say, hey, this is something good. A lot of what we experience as hunger is actually thirst. Have any kind of liquid quenching hunger as much as thirst. Get about our day. Most people find actually fasting space the most dialed in, focused space because we're not shifting blood flow down into the digestive tract to run all this stuff. All the blood flow available for our mental focus, concentration, every hormone out of the way, and dialed in. I know this is my experience when I want to get something done in a day. I'm opening up a fasting space. I'm hitting that hard in the morning. I'm bringing all of my human intensity into it. And so when we start seeing that fasting is giving us actually more potential, is unleashing human potential from within our body, energy to power our body and life. And at the same time that it's increasing our energy level, we're simultaneously burning through body fat, blood sugar. Do you see that we start building this cycle? The day, the cycle of the day, the habits, the patterns that are supporting the flourishing of our being. This is what I'm trying to do here, help to model it in this program for us here, Fasting Space. There is a space to center the mindset because these processes are so simple, they're so basic that we almost can't see them, and so much noise in our culture, so much marketing and advertising, stimulating, trying to get our attention, everybody saying 1,000 things, you got to do this and you got to do this. It's like, wait a sec. Are you telling me that one of the big, secrets into life is actually nothing? Like, it's nothing. fasting is nothing. It's an open space, and so to be able to take that, say, very hard to sell something like that. See, in our culture, so many things are like things have value. We can sell them. We can make money off them. But like here is a thing. It's like it's nothing. No money to make. Nothing to sell. Nothing to do. I was saying yesterday the amazing thing is the work of fasting is actually the work that it takes mentally to just do nothing. Like how interesting. A beautiful meal. Yes. What a concept. I agree. And this is what I really want. We should really value what we decide to put in our bodies during the eating window. A meal is no longer a treat. It's something more sacred after hours of fasting. 100%. 100%. Think of what is happening when we eat a meal, right? We are deciding very conscientiously and deliberately, like this is something that I am eating that I am choosing to make a part of myself. Like, whoa, like that's so big we don't think about it. See, I really like bringing mindfulness into eating in so many ways. Mindfulness is about using all of our senses when we're eating. Like, actually look at the food, don't look at the TV. Like, look at the food and actually seeing it coming in. Like, okay, that's an intense way to think about it. You want to be eating something good if you're going to pay that much attention to it. And then how does it smell? And you taste it. See, all of these signals, all of our senses, how does it sound as we're eating it? All of that is communicating information to the brain about what we are eating, and that is helping to program the digestive process so that it can efficiently handle it. Think of the taste. Taste is communicating. The body's calculating how many carbs are here, so it knows how much insulin to make. Takes about 20 minutes for the pancreas to get insulin ready. So when we taste it, nerve signals heading down to the pancreas, it's getting ready so that it makes just the amount of insulin that we need to handle it. The incredible beauty and synchronicity of everything that's happening in the body. But think how we short circuit it. We throw on Netflix, we're watching a thing, food is coming in, we hardly know. Like I say, don't do that. Don't do that. Like you're saying, make this a very special experience. It is a special experience. Make it the highest quality food. Realize this is becoming a part of you. This is what is going to nourish your body so that you accomplish every good thing that you want in your life. And then it should be enjoyable. So, a fasting process could be viewed, from society, from someone who is not approaching it thoughtfully, from a negative viewpoint. For say like, oh, here is someone who is just restricting themselves severely. Do they not love food? They're not enjoying food. My perspective is so far, it's like literally on the other side of the galaxy from something like that. I love food. I want to experience food. Food is one of the most joyful experiences that we can have. It's how we connect with friends and family. And it's one of the most enjoyable things that we do. The joy of fasting to me is the accentuation of the joy of eating. I've described it like a dance or like music. Like music is beautiful because of the space between the notes. And so when we are playing music, like if music was just a constant tone, like it wouldn't be beautiful. You couldn't stand it. You would say, shut it off. Okay. But bum, 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 we create a beautiful rhythm. This is everything that we are trying to do in life and health. Beautiful rhythm, music giving us like, the dance of life, the metaphor of what makes life fun and enjoyable. So by creating the space is what makes the notes beautiful. Space in our diet helps to make the musical notes of our eating the most beautiful part of our day, this beautiful bell that is bringing health and enjoyment. When you're taking that much thoughtfulness to it, I'll tell you, when you're like, this is like the music of my life, this is like bringing the joy, it's hard to put something bad into your body. Like if you have this total health mindset and you realize how powerful food is, that it's like at this foundational level that can keep disease away from my body, and you're using every sense and treating it, like you say, like a sacred process. It's almost impossible, I find personally. After practicing it, I've been dialed in for a solid decade, you know. It's very hard to eat anything unhealthy. It's like, I don't want that to be part of me. I know how I'm gonna feel. I've been through so many cycles of of compulsive eating. I had a huge trouble with it, when early at the clinic, we got the break room, everybody bringing in the donuts, everybody bringing in the things you feel if you don't eat it, you feel guilty because of these perverse social dynamics, and then I was like, "I don't wanna eat it," but then it's like, "But then you smell it." I was like, and then I'd have a thing where I ate one, and then and then I'm eating the second. I'm like, why am I doing it? It's so hard. The food, the design in our society is so addictive. It's just hitting deep in these centers. You can get in such a tough way with it, where you've really got to break out of it. We had some people sharing on the channel here last week that they took a 3-month through the fall here, took 3 months to break a sugar addiction, and then they're out of it. And then now they feel, after 3 months, to say they're out of it. They don't feel this draw to it. And I say, protect that space. I've experienced that, where it's like, get out of it. And then now from it, you say, oh, we get some perspective from it. This is the other thing that the fasting space does. Like when we're eating all the time and we're in the cycle, give it a break. Helps to get some space from it. Think of like the saying, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Take some space, build the anticipation, help make it a special event. Puts everything in our place. How we bring the joy of eating. Maximize it. Fasting help us maximize it. And then see the joy of fasting also. And that is a total inversion from the way the society thinks. Society would think the suffering of fasting. Okay, until you talk to somebody who practices it, who's someone who is learning, and then you realize, like, in a society that is totally overwhelmed by consumption, in a society that is spending billions and billions of dollars and working so hard and burning out in the gym to try to lose weight without stopping at consumption, to find a process where you say, are you saying I can float through this space and come to feel normal and actually feel better? Like that, see, that is joyful. This is what I want for people, increasing joy by finding peace and contentment. And we can find that without food. We can find it in something as simple as a cup of coffee and some open space. So. Really appreciate having you here. Nice to connect. If you're coming through on the replay, make sure share thoughts, comments, observations in the comments. I will be responding in the comments any point in the future. It's going to come to me. We'll keep the conversation going. Love to hear your thoughts, and we will continue stepping forward, weekdays, fasting space, moving toward health and wholeness together. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.